All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum, and this is the story. Actor Alec Baldwin and armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed will be charged with involuntary manslaughter in this horrific and tragic case, the killing of Halyna Hutchins on Baldwin's film set for the movie Rust. Now, the prosecutor is now speaking with Fox News about the case. Judge Jeanine Pirro just wrapped that interview a short time ago, and she's here to tell us what she learned. Also, an expert legal panel standing by, Geraldo Rivera, Brian Claypool, and Mark Garrigus, all of whom have a lot of experience with celebrity cases such as these. Now, the DA, Mary Carmack Altwise, says that the set played, quote, fast and loose with safety, and that she, quote, absolutely believes that Alec Baldwin pulled the trigger that fateful day, something that the actor, when he spoke out about the case shortly after it happened, denied. Watch this.
It wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them. Never.
Okay. I mean, they're going to go back to that time and time again here. Baldwin, Gutierrez-Reed, and the assistant director, David Halls, who he signed, the last person I mentioned, has signed a plea agreement, quote, did not do their jobs that day, says this special prosecutor. If they had, Halyna Hutchins would be alive today. So let's bring in Judge Jeanine Pirro, who just spoke with the DA. Jeanine, great to have you here, and great that you were able to get this interview with them. What was your biggest takeaway? What did you learn here?
The big takeaway for me was that the DA here, Mary Carmack Altwise, along with a special prosecutor on the case, who were very clear and very definite in terms of how they came to their decision. One of the things that you focused on just now about the pulling of the trigger, they were absolutely certain, in spite of the denials by, Baldwin that he never pulled the trigger, they were like, absolutely, that trigger was pulled. They're very confident in their case, and I think that they have done all of the investigation. They are clear on pretty much everything. They made a decision, and you'll hear about this on the interview on the 5, about who to take the plea from. That person, Dave Halls, the second armorer, is the one who's going to be testifying against both the defendant, Alec Baldwin, and Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the first armorer. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, in my estimate, is the person who was more culpable in terms of the armorers, because she was one who actually set off some of the live rounds on the set. The DAs were absolutely clear about the fact that this set was not safe, that what they did was they prioritized money over safety. People were quitting. They were leaving. They were complaining about live rounds, and nobody seemed to listen. So Baldwin is charged both as the actor and as the producer, and he faces up to 6.5 years, Martha.
Yeah, that's a long time, 6.5 years in prison. And it is a possibility when you add up these charges. And I would imagine that we're going to hear from these other individuals who were on the set in this trial, who are going to be testifying that it was an unsafe workplace, that they were scared. They had worked on movies before. They said, they're not following the safety protocols on this set, and I don't really want to take my life into my hands, so I'm going to quit. Now, there never should have been live rounds there. So who is responsible for the fact that there were live rounds? And we've heard reports about people doing sort of, fun shooting practice, shooting things off of a fence the night before.
Right. Well, there never should have been live rounds. The armorer is responsible for that. The second armorer took a plea. He's admitted his guilt. He's agreed to testify against both. And the interesting part of this is not just in terms of the unsafe set. It's people are actually leaving. They're complaining. This is not a safe place. This is not the way movies are done. But even more interesting to me, Martha, and you'll see this on the interview on the 5 today, is I asked if he cooperated. We kept reading reports about whether or not he was handing over the phone. Wasn't he handing over the phone? Did he delete archives? Did he not? It'll be interesting for you to watch the DA's response to that.
The answer to whether or not Alec Baldwin was cooperative. It's a very important point. Here's a piece of the interview. Let's play this.
We've heard that there were real problems on this set, including discharges of 2 live rounds, people walking off the set saying it was unsafe, they didn't want to work there. Did Baldwin know about this, and did he do anything about it?
Well, we believe Baldwin, as a producer, knows everything that goes on this set. And so, there was a lot of problems. There were a couple accidental discharges. There was a lot of safety concerns that were brought to the attention of management, and he did nothing about it. So this was a loose and reckless scene where safety was compromised just to save money.
So I want to play for you, Jeanine, and for everyone at home. This is an interview that we did with Steve Wolf way back when this happened. He's a special effects supervisor who has worked with guns on films such as The Firm with Tom Cruise. He's explaining this exact same model of gun and how it works and the only way to get a bullet to come out of it. Watch this.
This is actually the same gun that was used on the set. The same model. The trigger will do nothing unless you have first cocked the gun. So you have to pull the hammer back, it sets, and then the trigger will activate the dropping of the hammer.
Okay.
So you have to do 2 deliberate actions in order to fire this gun.
Yeah. So one of my questions here is, we're on a film set, right? Is there a video of every single second of what happened here? Because you would see whether or not it was handed to him cocked, and you would see whether or not you can see him pull that trigger.
Pull the trigger on it. My understanding is that's like a 45 single action. You have to pull the trigger, and whether it's cocked or not cocked. When it's cocked and your finger's on the trigger, obviously it's going to go off. But also, if your finger's on the trigger and then you cock it, it goes off as well. So the safety and whether or not anyone was following that, whether anyone was videotaping, I don't know. I suspect that they know. And, I'm sure there are people on set who can tell us.
Yeah, one more for you before we turn to the rest of the panel here. With regard to the order of these charges, there's a civil case that was already settled in this. And Halyna Hutchins' husband, part of that agreement was that he'll be an executive producer on Rust when it does come out. And that would put him in a position to make some money off of the movie, if possible, for his family. It's very unusual, isn't it, for the civil case to come first and then criminal charges after?
I suspect that with Baldwin as a defendant in the civil case, both as an individual and as the producer, that he would do everything in his power to settle that case so that there would be no testimony, so that there would be no inconsistent statements, which we already know he's made based upon interviews that he's done on air. But it was in his benefit, to his benefit, that he settled that case. Whether or not the husband being on the set, I don't know, and we'll probably never know what the terms of that settlement are, but it's different. But then this case is very different, Martha.
Were you surprised?
No, not at all. Look, she died. She was a mother. That set was not safe. He pulled the trigger. I don't care if it's on a film set or if it's outside on 6th Avenue.
You don't point a gun at someone and pull
the trigger
unless you have checked it. And his argument is going to be that it was other people's responsibility. And according to the reports that we got, Dave Halls, the assistant director, who is the person who's now testifying in this trial, said that it was a cold gun.
Yes, but anyone who is a gun owner knows that you don't rely on that. You know how to handle a gun. A gun is a killing machine. You don't say, oh, okay, let me put my finger on the trigger, let me aim it at her and pull the trigger.
And several people. An actor, a bunch of people behind the camera, a whole lot of people were on the other side of that.
But I think you'll get a better sense of this when you see the interview on the 5. Yeah. The DAs were great.
Well, great get, and we're
thank you.
Very much looking forward to seeing the whole thing on the 5, Jeanine. So thank you for coming by and getting us a little preview here, and we'll look forward to seeing that later on. Always good to have you with us. Thanks, Jeanine.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.